Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and Fansided.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-host Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans and Major League Baseball fans in general. Happy Halloween. I am Craig Borden, your host. Jason Lyons is with me this evening. Trick or treat, mother.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if I've ever, I think I probably talked about this last year and maybe the year before. It is, Halloween is a bit of an insane asylum in my neighborhood. Last year, just previous to 8:30 p.m., we dropped our 900th piece of candy down our candy luge out front of the house. It's interesting, though, because we usually get our street blocked off, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. So if that doesn't happen, it might be even more madness because at least it was controlled. No cars could come down here. It's when the cars start coming down and there's 1,000 kids on the two streets. We do have a fairly big haunted house, the Dovercourt Crypt, which is just around the corner. And they do a lot of good stuff for the firefighters burn unit. And so if you're in North Vancouver and you're bored tonight, come up to the Dovercourt Crypt. You should be able to find it. It's on all the Halloween searchy lighty thingies. And I'm prepared. As you can see, we have an army of candy ready to be dispensed. And that's not even the full complement of what we'll be dealing with tonight. Oh, did you go? You on mute?
I forgot I muted myself like an idiot. Dogs are barking. Anyway, so yeah, you got the full gambit of every candy you can humanly possibly think of. What's your favorite?
My go-to Coffee Crisp is my favorite chocolate bar. And then my wife reminded me last night that they're also Crispy Crunch is an excellent bar. I like Wonder Bar and O. Henry. O. Henry's like takes me right back to. And then on the other side of things, I don't mind like the Sour Patch and any of the like gummy jobs. Those aren't too bad. My kids like Rockets, which I don't understand. That's just colored sugar pellets.
Yeah, it's like Pop Rocks, right? Just make sure you mix it with just a little bit of Coke, be all set.
Of course. Yeah.
I was always a Milky Way fan. That was always my fan.
Milky Way is a good
one. I always went to.
Yeah, good one.
So, good deal. But anyway, enough trick-or-treating aside.
Screw that.
There was a hell of a trick played on Yankee fandom last night because they went full Bills Super Bowl level is what it felt like to me. And they were ahead 5-0. Looked like things were going well, Jason, and then literally the hamster fell off the wheel.
I mean, so I was watching it happen live, and the only thing I can think of, and stop me if you can think of the exact same thing, it was the Jays and the Texas Rangers. It was watching the baseball gods, watching Garrett Cole and his just complete disdain for anything that is any kind of, he's just such an idiot. And then just the whole thing, when Judge missed that ball, I actually I went, whoop, and then there's the play at third, and you're like, whoop, and then you're like, here it comes. Like, this is just baseball telling you that all of the bad stuff you've done for all of the years up to this, we're going to give you a crumb. We're going to give you one game in the World Series, and then we're going to take it away from you and also take Juan Soto away from you. But
I mean, the thing that killed me, I ended up texting a bunch of my friends, and this was the play that was I said at this moment they are done. They are not winning this series, and they are definitely not winning this ball game. Rizzo gets that little ground ball to his left side, insta fields, and he's like ready to pitch it to him at first base, and Cole's not even halfway up the baseline.
He's holding at him.
He's gone. It's over.
Just lazy.
Me?
Lazy. And, I liked it when the thing that I couldn't understand about last night, though, and I would love to talk about this, and anybody who's out there live and has any kind of comment on this, how did they trot him back out for another 2 innings? Like, where was the thought in there that, and I mean, it worked. He ended up pitching well in those 2 innings. I mean, but who in their right mind would leave him out there? Like, I was like, what are they doing?
That was an Aaron Booneism all day, every day, right?
Yes, yeah. But
and yeah, go ahead.
Well, as a baseball fan, it was a fun series to watch. I mean, it's just a roller coaster. Like no lead was safe. I mean, that was the same for the divisional series. No leads were safe. It's so ironic that you would coin that Freddie Freeman v. Kirk Gibson, and then it just it just continued to happen. Like it was like
so. You mentioned that we had Brian on last Thursday to talk all things Dodgers, baseball cards, and World Series. And that moment that we went around and just did all the bold predictions, it was wild. The fact that a few of them even came true to that point. I don't remember what the one Liz mentioned, but she had a really good pick too. Same thing with yourself, and yours was I think the Yankees get swept, and you missed it by this much. So. In the midst of that, though, that moment, I texted Brian about 5 seconds after that happened. He's like, "Oh my God, do you believe we called?" And then next thing you know, he's got it on social media. He's begging me for the clip. I put it up all over our stuff. And to that point, we mentioned last week, could that have happened to a classier guy?
No.
Or a fact that somebody has the story from Major League Baseball that he has this season? Jason, just take us back there, man.
Well, I mean, I think the whole thing starts back right at the start of the season when his son Max was, and I'm not even going to try and say what the disease is or what it is to your body. Suffice it to say, if you go look it up, it's not cool. And as everybody knows, Freddie Freeman's kids mean quite a lot to him. He always has them at the ballpark. He always is making sure they're involved. I mean, he reminds me a lot. I like to think of if I was a major leaguer, I would want my kids there all the time. I would want them involved in that stuff. I would want them everywhere. And then, so he goes through that. He's not having a great start to the season. He twists his ankle. I don't know if you've seen the highlight of that. Please don't put it on there. I'm one of those ones that's one of these. He does that. He still doesn't come back from it all that well. He had an okay season, certainly not Freddie Freeman-like. And then just to have just the grand slam moment with his dad, that's the kind of thing that, and I can't think of too many, if Aaron Judge, and I don't mean to pick on the Yankees in particular. I could probably pick 100 guys in the majors that if they hit that home run, and even if their dad was in the crowd, I don't think that would be the response. I feel like there's about 30 dudes where that would be it. It's find the person that means the most to you in the crowd, and forget about the fact that, you just pulled your team, you just won a game for your team and all the rest of that. That moment was him and his dad. And even afterwards, the press conference where he's like, my dad has probably thrown me, 500,000 BP pitches and still does in the off season. He still comes to my house in the off season and will still throw BP for me. And, he's like, none of this stuff means anything for me. This isn't for me at all. He's like, it's for him and for my mom and for my kids and for the Dodgers. And I mean, let's also make sure that we say out loud, congratulations to Teo for finally getting a ring that he probably feels like he earned. I know he got one with Houston, and I know he never thought that he never felt like he earned it. Kevin Kiermaier, I mean, that guy was trying so hard not to cry last night when Hazel May was talking to him. He was lost for words. For a guy who is never lost for words, he was lost for words. Kevin Biggio gets a ring, if we're going to just, say Blue Jays. But I think the other thing that's kind of lost in the sauce on this is Walker Buehler. We're talking about a guy who left the Dodgers this year because he was so bad. They didn't even want to send
him. Hurt.
Well,
he was also very, very hurt and couldn't get back to that level that he was at, Jason. And not only did he have a great start, but he was Randy Johnson last night. He came in and closed the game out, throwing just amazing.
Untouchable. That was the butane from 2019. That was why he has that nickname. And and you don't, again, I feel for a guy like Juan Soto, who I've never cheered for before in my life, but I got a lot of respect for the guy. He said all the right things after the game. He stayed in the Dougie to watch what was going on and had a lot of
bat in hand, by the way,
tipping his cap to a few guys and waving and you know, like all the exchanges with Gratterall. Like, I mean, that's what this is all about. And then, you know, you hit the zero personality part of the Yankees lineup, and it just, like, even Verdugo's face when he struck out, he was just like, I'm just going to go back to the dugout. They win. Like, I don't know what it is about.
Throw the damn bat if I was the last strikeout in freaking any World Series game, let alone the one that clinched it for the other team. But what do I know? Yeah. But anyway, to that point, it was a good series, and to that, even when the games that were the Dodgers running away, they were in it the whole time. These were close games, and it was interesting. This is one of the better postseasons in general, Jason, that I've watched from front to back in a long time.
Wildly entertaining.
And there was story. You know, it was great. You know, whether it was the Brewers sneaking in and doing what they did and making it interesting, and watching the Cleveland Guardians get that close to being able to run to the World Series, all the above. You know, it was really fun to watch what they did this year, and can only hope that the next season is going to be that much more fun and interesting. And we're going to get to the fact that already the hot stove season's already kicked off and started within the last few minutes.
I mean, it was immediate. It was immediate.
Like, and we're done.
Bang. Yeah. I was driving home today from the office, and I listened to the guys on the MLB network. Who was it? Dang it. It was really good radio too. And it was so interesting to listen to so here's a great question for you. So who do you think will be the highest paid free agent signing aside from Juan Soto next year?
Well, you want me to get really ballsy?
Throw one out there.
Garrett Cole.
So the panel on this show agreed that they think that the potential for like a really crazy one is a guy like Blake Snell, who could get $30 million a year. The thing that bothers me though is I feel like it was all the same teams that they were talking about. It was all Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Padres. You know, like no mention of the Jays. The only other one was there was a lot of talk about Seattle maybe really, 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 really going insane. After everybody.
Yeah, the team that I think is going to really load up this offseason. There you go. I really do think the Guardians are going to take that next step and find something. Who else was I talking about? Oh, the Reds. We haven't even talked about this one yet as far as things go. They signed Terry Francona, so they got Tito in that dugout with all those youngsters. I think there's going to be something going on in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and you know, the Red Sox did they re-sign Joey Cora or bring him back or something?
Cora's staying is what I heard, but I haven't seen a final detail on it. But to that point, the reason I said Garrett Cole even in that equation is him and Blake Snell are apparently going to opt out of their current contracts, because that was one of the wonderful things with Blake Snell's deal, with him not getting the deal he wanted this past offseason, that he was fine. I got an out. Give me what you think for this year.
Yep.
If I do that well, I'm going.
Yeah.
And it really would not surprise me that he's back in San Diego. I just have a feeling, but that's besides the point.
The Mets were the other one that these guys just kept talking about, willing to spend. So, I mean, I don't know. It's insane to me to already be having the conversation. The other really interesting one, and I'd love to, I mean, we can save this for another show. We should who do you think is the NL MVP? I think it's NL. There you go. Rookie of the year. That's a beauty.
This is the way. It's okay. 3D printed. So, but yeah, as far as that stuff goes, I don't know who is going to be in that equation. You want to run that one by me again?
I think it's either Paul Skeens or it's the kid that plays center field for it's totally escaped me now.
Or are you thinking the Brook
for the Padres? For the Padres.
Chorio. Oh, Merrill.
Yeah,
Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill. Yeah.
I love Jackson Merrill.
I think that Merrill wins it on the fact that he played 154 games.
Yes.
But a really interesting.
But it is going to be interesting to see where that goes because Skeens.
Well, Skeens, yeah.
Nobody's had a rookie performance like him. Honestly, it's like literally since what we were talking about with Brian last week with Fernando Mania.
Yeah,
it's in that ballpark of somebody that good in a rookie season. But Fernando was there the whole season is the difference. Skeen's coming up and doing what he did. I think if you were going to put the two next to each other, I think you also got to take some merit that. No offense to Paul Skeens, but he couldn't take his team to the playoffs, where Jackson Merrill, as a rookie, became a huge clutch cog of that team for the San Diego Padres. God, he was the best hitter many times, but he was one of their exactly. Yes. And then not to mention the fact that he also had all these walk-off hits and home runs and played great defense.
And that's a brand new position for him.
Correct. The biggest contributor to the team, I think, rookie-wise, was Jackson Merrill. But to that point, you don't have this conversation with Paul Skeens if Paul Skeens didn't come up and be one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Because in all reality, Cy Young's not out of the equation either. But that's a whole other equation.
And I like the trade talks already. I like the fact that Soto came right out and he was like, "Hey, I have an open door policy." He's like, "Come to me,
and talk."
Yeah, come talk. We'll talk. Let's see if we can figure it out. Now, the talk with Soto, everybody, and it was funny to listen to these people because obviously they're not Dodgers fans. They're talking about him going to the Dodgers, and they're talking about the potential that the Dodgers have no cap, right? Like, I mean, they can spend as much money as the owner.
Major League Baseball in general. It's just as much as you hit the luxury tax, but that's okay, great. You're just going to, get a percentage of your money. You've already spent this much more money. You got to spend more and give it to the poor teams. It's just
who knows?
Great. That buys you back-to-back dynasty level World Series. You're going to make that money back in freaking advertisement and merchandise and everything. They'll make that up on Soto jerseys alone, probably. This is how it is.
I'm with you too. Like, I mean,
assuming Fanatics actually fixes the jerseys.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, they're terrible. But I'm with you.
Cherry thing is actually better made than the things now. Old Majestic, man. This is
old Majestic. Majestic made a good product. I've still got a couple of Majestic jerseys, and I feel like I could, if somebody shot a 22 at me from a little distance.
Yeah, as I say, it's bulletproof. No. Good shit. But anyway, before I interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, I think that as World Series goes, the whole way through the whole playoffs, were probably the most entertaining of the last 5 years. And I mean, a lot of drama. I mean, I guess there's a Cubs win in the last 5 years, though, isn't there? Was that in the last 5 years?
Not sure. Which year was it? Rizzo was on the team, so it can't be too long ago.
2020.
I'm blanking on which year the cut.
Yeah, I mean, so doesn't matter.
So that's for off-season trivia night, Jason. You're killing me already.
But like you said, there was no leads were safe. There was so much fun. I mean, it was the most grand slams ever hit in the playoffs. I think most grands first.
Just think about that.
What's that?
There was two throwouts at the plate or bases in one game. That doesn't even barely ever happen anymore. You know what I mean? Teo throwing out freaking I'll say caboose of the running line up here for Giancarlo Stanton. But oh my God, I saw him run around third base, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, right?
Well, I don't know if you follow any of the Barstool guys or any of that. I mean, I only follow them because the guys, especially,
it's a fun watch.
Yeah, but the New York guys are really the New York guys. Like, I mean, they really wear that whole moniker of New York, and it was really nice to watch them watch the Yankees lose, especially last night. Here's the thing: we haven't even talked.
The videos of the choking in Game 1 were almost as fun as the others.
Yeah, here's the other thing we haven't even talked about is those guys that ripped the ball out of Mookie's glove, and I mean. I
thank God the Yankees actually banned them for life. That's
contrary to what the guy said. The guy was on Barstool and he said that he was banned for that game, but there was no discussion about a ban for life. So
then he hadn't gotten the memo yet, because I read that the Yankees said he's not allowed to come. That him and the other guy aren't allowed to come back in the game at all.
I just that is
and
so
to that point, I'm
appalling.
sorry, you assaulted a player.
Yeah,
assaulted
and grabbed the other guy grabbed his other hand. Like, I mean, he grabbed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, to me, and it smacks of, you know, like there was all these videos going around of New York fans telling LA fans, or even just people who weren't in Yankee gear, you know, to go F themselves and all this other stuff. And you're like,
it's not baseball.
Like, I get it to a point. Like, you want to cheer for your team and you want to be supportive and all this other stuff, but you can do it without being a total shithead, or I'd like to think you can. And just the you know, to listen to these idiots get interviewed afterwards and just be like, and then watch them like with the intent of either hurting Mookie, or, I mean, they know that it's an out. He has 100%. The ball, and I mean, unless you're a total idiot, and the guy's talking about, he's like, we patrol that wall. I'm like, shut up. You're not a player.
Yeah, you know who else actually patrols that wall and gets paid handsomely to do it, rather than actually paying for rent for one seat for the game? Yeah. Is Mookie Betts. And he's been doing that for very efficiently in that outfield since he was a Red Sox. So
I was appalled by that whole thing, and just the cavalierness of the way that they were talking about it. And actually, you know, the other thing that really bothered me was when they did the roll call. They, you know, obviously they do the roll call, and they got A-Rod and they got Jeter when they were in the press box, and then they were screaming "F you, Poppy." Like, come on. Like, David Ortiz is David. He's a man. He's not David Ortiz, the Red Sox. He's not David Ortiz, any team he played for at that point. Yeah. He's just David Ortiz.
To that point, though, David Ortiz had the best reaction to that ever, by the way. He just started laughing, being him. He goes, yeah, that's right. That's right. You still remember me.
Yeah. You gotta be pretty awesome to have 40,000 people still hate you 10 years later.
Correct. And to that point, you talk about a guy that took them to school and then eventually reversed the curse, which I gotta watch that. I don't know if you on Netflix you've watched it yet or not, but they have 2004, The Comeback.
Yep.
I remember being in my dorm room and literally getting in trouble for a noise ordinance in Game 6. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it was fun to watch.
I had to do public service because we were too loud and disorderly, throwing cans back and forth across the hallway to the Yankee fans in the room across from my room. It was all the Yankee fans in the room across the hall in the dorm, and then in my room it was all the anti-Reds or anti-Yankee fans and the Red Sox fans. It was very amusing, but that was a hell of a series too. But so, but to that point, I just want to end the Mookie thing with this. In my opinion, I don't care who you're a fan of, that was not baseball at all. That's not even sports. That's not any level of sportsmanship at anything. You know, I just can't imagine. Even if I was sitting in that, I could be as pissed off as anybody in that situation. I wouldn't be thinking about trying to rip and spin the baseball out of somebody's glove, or, let's just, you know, bring Mookie Betts up here with us, you know, because that's what it looked like they were trying to do. And then it's like, you thought you were going to get away with that. Every camera in the ballpark was on that. Just think about this with Bartman or anything back with the Cubbies when they still didn't have as many cameras in the damn ballpark as they do now. Just wild.
Anyways, it was just appalling.
Yeah. So to end the show here, because I know you got trick-or-treaters and whatnot, we're going to have a brief show here because we're going to get into full off-season dumb predictions and trivia nights and all that kind of stuff here over the next few weeks, because that's what we do. We are here for you Blue Jays fans all year round. None of this nonsense of taking the off season. We want to have fun, so we're going to have plenty of you on. We got the Heck joining us next week, it sounds like, so our buddy will be back to talk bold predictions for the off season and what's going on with the Jays. But did you know there was actually already an off season trade already today?
No.
And it shocks me. The Angels actually went out and got a slugger.
Come on. Who?
They actually traded a reliever for Jorge Soler from the Braves. So they gave Griffin Canning, pitcher, for Jorge Soler straight up today. And that is officially the start of the hot stove season, my friend.
Hot stove it up. We need a sound effect.
Yeah. It needs to be like a bunch of dollar signs or something like that. Because the only other things that happen is I'm going to even say this one because I don't know if you've seen it or you saw it on the highlight reel thing behind me here. Daniel Hudson is taking his World Series ring and running off into the sunset. So happy retirement, Mr. Daniel Hudson, former Toronto Blue Jay.
I think you'll probably see a bunch of that. I think obviously I don't know if Kevin Kiermaier's got too much more, wind in the sails.
I think he said he was, but I haven't seen the official yet that he has done,
And then on the flip side of things, if Soto loses, you do realize that the money that Soto makes could probably free up 5 moves for the Yankees. So it's going to be wild.
I think that's where they actually need to weigh their offseason between dropping a giant pile of money in to keep Cole and him if Cole decides to take the quote unquote opt out and run. Yeah. Do you pay him? Do you go after Blake Snell instead? There's a lot of things going on there that the Yankees are going to have to figure out. This might have been their actual first and only playoff appearance here if they don't figure out something here. Because right now you're paying a lot of money to Aaron Judge and you don't have the rest of the team around him. And you're going to lose Alex Verdugo, 3 guys in their bullpen. You have a chance to lose Garrett Cole. Unless you're hoping that Jason Dominguez, Tyler Wells, who had a decent couple of hits that were high clutch stuff, the Yankees might be a little vulnerable this offseason if they don't throw a brick of money at it.
I agree.
So, but those are all things that we're going to get into later. But way too early, oh my God level, off-season bold prediction. I told you I was going to hit you up with it. Is there anything that you think, as we close the show out here tonight in this quick half-hour hit, what do you think might happen this offseason? That would be the sweeping, oh my God, Kirk Gibson, Freddie Freeman weird prediction kind of thing going on.
I think, aside from the guy that we've already touched on many, many, many times with Juan Soto, I feel like the biggest player that's going to get added and the person who's going to make the most money out of it is Corbin Burnes. I think Corbin Burnes is going to sign a monster with somebody. And, I think that what you're to your Cleveland point, maybe like where Cleveland needs somebody like this to just come in and dominate, like the Mariners need a guy like this that they can just rest the franchise on for the next number of years. Cincinnati, there's teams out here who could really use this dude, and he's still young and he still throws hard. And so that's my big one is I think he's going to sign somewhere massive. And Teo's going to get paid. He should, period. That's simple. Crazy level of fun this offseason. But so my bold prediction is, I'm going to first stack on yours there. I think Corbin Burnes is going to be a Cub. Yeah, I think the Cubs are going to pay him, and he likes Craig Counsell. There you go. Sold. Go back to the National League Central. My bold prediction is that the biggest free agent in this whole offseason is going to end up being a Cincinnati Red, and I think Juan Soto is going to be that guy. The Cincinnati Reds have a giant dumpster pile of money. My prediction is that Juan Soto will be either a Cincinnati Red or a Washington National. Ooh. Those 2 teams are hurting to get somebody like him back. And I like the story of him going back to the Nats. Yeah, I think that would be fun. I mean, the Nats the Nats have nobody right now.
But they have a lot of great young talent.
Yeah.
Between Woods, there's a kid that's playing here in Rochester right now that's going to be their new third baseman. That probably next year. And Brady House, they brought up that Dylan Cruz kid. You throw a Juan Soto in there, that might be a hell of a start to a core of a lineup. Yeah. And you just got to find some pitching.
Yeah.
So could be interesting, especially when this contract that Soto's going to get is going to be like for a fucking decade.
Yeah, and $700 million.
There is that. Yeah, so Blue Jays fans, as much as I'd love to hear the Soto thing, the dollars and cents don't add up to me. If they do, they have to go full in on paying Vladdy, and they have to go full in on paying Soto. And then they got to find a way to move somebody like George Springer's contract, because he's got 2 more damn years with that same amount of money that we would want to be paying Juan Soto on.
Now here's this.
Or the Blue Jays are going well over that luxury tax and just saying, fuck it, and going with it.
If you want do you want my scary Blue Jays prediction?
Like Angry Bird level?
This is to go with the Halloween theme. My scary Blue Jays prediction is that the Jays are going to go full clip after Alex Bregman.
I don't like it, but there could be worse things to do.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think my worry is that you're just pushing yourself into another horrible George Springer tail end of his contract. And I'm not saying put Vladdy at third, just for the rest of everybody that thinks I'm jumping the other direction. I want Gold Glove Ernie Clement with hoping he figures out the rest of the lumber part to go play third base. Yeah. But that's just playing. It'll be interesting to see because I do think there's a lot of things that the Blue Jays can play around with this offseason, and that's where we're going to spend all our chats going forward here, Jason. But is there anything you'd like to add before we run off this evening?
No, I mean, it's, baseball season, goodbye baseball season. It's been a really fun ride, really disappointing Jays wise. I think that I want to thank all of the fans that we added, this baseball season to the cast. Guys like Mario, in there right now, right down to the bitter end. It's people like you that are out there that help us do this, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And Craig and I are going to get into some fun, in the off season here, our bold predictions, and maybe get the trivia nights going. I'm going to drag some of my buddies that I coach with and play with out onto the cast here. And we encourage you guys to reach out to us on our socials if you want to be on, if you think you can talk baseball for an hour or even for 10 or 15 minutes. The other thing that you are going to see from us coming up in the next little while here, some Canadian baseball prospects. There's a lot of kids in Vancouver here who just went through a Blue Jays camp, a Rockies camp, and some other stuff. One of them was named to the Canadian national team. He's down in Puerto Rico right now playing. So we're going to hear from him. His name is Finn Hoshin. He's going to be on the show hopefully next week when he's back. We just had another kid here from North Van, full commit to Kansas State. I'd love to get Daniel Dykma on here too. Baseball is exploding right now, and it's fun to be a part of this, and just happy we get to do it once a week at least.
Yep. And then just because it's episode 432, like I said, it is not done tonight. Make sure you come back for episode 433 next week. Next week we will be here at 7:00 Eastern, 4 on the West Coast where Jason's hanging out. But Blue Jays fans, like I said, do not hesitate. Ping us. Find us anywhere you can find at Birdwatching GC, because if you haven't heard the story, I called this a Birdwatching Gamecast originally. So when I built all the social media stuff up, I already had a following, and I'm like, yep, full podcast now, not just a Gamecast.
Yep.
So that was all because of you, too, just to remember that, Blue Jays fans, because you all encouraged me to keep this thing going in this direction instead of just doing the games. So on that note, make sure you find us on social media, ping us. We will have some very, very fun, cool off-season stuff. Jason mentioned Trivia Night. We're going to have a bunch of teams actually compete on this show for a Guess That Blue Jays tournament over probably around the Christmas time frame. So we got our friends at the Walk-Off podcast and some others that are going to join, have a good time. Liz and Jason will probably be paired up to be the one team here for us, because I got to have somebody here for me. I'm just kidding. Or you guys are going to play chance them to host with me every week. So, but it'll be plenty of fun in the off season here. Make sure you join us. And obviously until then, make sure you join wherever you can on social media. Catch us on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasting pleasures from. And we'll see you next week. Hopefully all take care. Enjoy. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
It's not playing.
Thank you for listening to the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC, and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!